Welcome back, everyone. Why does the Quran so strongly resemble Christian Apocrypha? And why is it that the Quranic Mary is called Aaron's sister? When was the Quran written? That's what we'll be talking about in this brief video, while obviously referencing Surah 19 of the Quran. It's there we find a very familiar passage about Mary in childbirth. She's in an isolated place and needs some food and water. The voice calling from under her is taken by many to be the newborn Quranic Jesus, who commands the palm to provide sustenance for Mary. This has obvious parallels with the Gospel of Pseudo-Matthew, as many have noted. The possibility of the Quran borrowing from traditions of the sort we see preserved in Pseudo-Matthew is increased when we realize that Pseudo-Matthew incorporated material from the Proto-Gospel of James, which contains, of course, traditions the Quran also borrowed heavily from, as we've discussed numerous times on this channel. However, the Quran connects the palm tree miracle with Jesus' birth. In Pseudo-Matthew, it's connected to the family's emergency flight to Egypt, so that's a bit different. Also, Pseudo-Matthew is a 6th or 7th century document composed in Latin. However, it does come from much earlier sources. Professor Prof Shoemaker, a specialist in this area, notes that the story of Mary and the date palm circulated in the ancient Near East perhaps as early as the 3rd century, and beyond any doubt by the early 5th century. So these traditions are certainly pre-Islamic, but questions remain. Why does the Quran combine the palm tree miracle with Jesus' birth instead of the flight to Egypt, like Pseudo-Matthew? And why is Mary called the sister of Aaron? The answer to these questions lies in the Kathisma church, a place between Jerusalem and Bethlehem, built around the mid-5th century, which served as a nativity shrine. The liturgy associated with this church is the pre-Islamic source that combines, like the Quran, Christ's birth with the palm tree miracle. These liturgical traditions also identify Mary as the sister of Aaron. As Shoemaker comments, clearly the Quran knows, and expects its audience to know, this particular configuration of Christian nativity traditions. The Kathisma Church thus solves the mystery of Mary as the sister of Aaron and the curious Quranic conflation of Jesus' birth and the palm tree miracle. It's not a conflation at all. The Quran is simply borrowing from Christian liturgy associated with the Kathisma Church, not directly from Pseudo-Matthew. At the beginning of the video, we asked, why does the Quran so strongly resemble Christian Apocrypha? And why is it that Mary is called Aaron's sister? When was the Quran written? Well, with the groundbreaking work of Prof Shoemaker on the Kathisma Church, we've answered all but the last question. So let's get to it. Early in the 8th century, the Kathisma Church was converted into a mosque. The church itself and its traditions were absorbed into the Muslim community. This makes sense because the Quranic Jesus is an important literary fiction in Islam. But the Muslim empire didn't peacefully expand to the region of Kathisma until after Muhammad became worm food. Yet we find these liturgical traditions in the Quran, which was supposedly revealed before Muhammad croaked. Now, Muslim apologists are feverishly doing the math on when the Muslims took over Jerusalem and when Muhammad bit the dust and thinking, another Quran miracle. This part of Surah 19 was revealed to Muhammad after he went belly up. Alhamdulillah. Do we have another Quran miracle here, or alternatively, the case of the Kathisma Church and the Quranic nativity tradition in Surah 19, 22 through 28 leaves little question that we must approach the Quranic text as a corpus of traditions that remained open even beyond Muhammad's lifetime and was continuing to absorb Jewish and Christian traditions in the decades after the believers conquered and occupied the Near East. Thus, the 650s Uthmanic recension position held so uncritically by otherwise intelligent scholars has taken a blow in past scholarship, and it looks like it will continue to. Another fascinating bit of insight is that the architecture for the Dome of the Rock was borrowed from the Kathisma Church. So both Allah and Muslims borrow. Allah borrowed from later Christian and Jewish sources for the Quran, while accidentally claiming to affirm the Torah and Gospel, and Muslims couldn't even build the Dome of the Rock without copying from the Kathisma Church. From Greek medicine to rabbinic legends to Christian apocrypha, it's difficult to think of anything in this religion that isn't cannibalized. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.